News for you today. There's a difference between those who are spiritually effective and those who are just as sincere, but they're spiritually ineffective. I've got news for somebody in this house today. The devil's trying to convince you you're not, but you're just as anointed as anybody else. It's just sealed out of sight. You've got just as much power as anybody else in this building, but it's been hidden by your distractions. You've got as much potential as anybody else. It's just yet to be your problem is you're a stripling. You're a stripling. It's there, but nobody sees it. It's there, but you keep getting caught away and veiled behind your struggles. You're a stripling. The question I carry to this congregation today is if God can change you in one moment from being a stripling to being a warrior in the kingdom, where does that happen? What causes that? What is there, Brother Waits, that turns us and changes everything? Where is that place that striplings are revealed? The fact is, there are some of you that sit here with giftings and talents that are hidden inside of you, and they demand to find out where are striplings revealed. Brother White, if I just had a pulpit, everybody'd see how anointed I am. No, it don't work that way. Brother White, if they just let me sing the special, everybody would know the gift that I've got inside me. Trust me, what God wants to do in you is a lot bigger than holding a microphone and singing. Let me tell you where striplings are not revealed. David was not the stripling called David. Wasn't revealed when he cut that giant's head off. It happened somewhere before he cut the giant's head off. It was not revealed when David sunk that stone in his forehead somewhere back before that. David, that stripling, became something greater. It didn't even happen when David reached down in the brook and picked up 5 smooth stones. If you want to see what changed him from a nobody to a hero, you better find where striplings are really revealed. And tonight I've come to preach the answer to you. You got to look back to those 3 vital elements that forever shaped his world. Stay with me now. You need to know if the stripling in you is ever going to be revealed. Just like David, you've got to find a place where you can identify the enemies of God in your world. The stripling started being uncovered when David stood in a place of maturity and he could recognize this dude is not just a bully. He's an enemy of God. And if what God has destined you to be ever makes the journey from obscure wildernesses to miraculous battlefields, it's going to be because you found a place of maturity that said that is an enemy of God. The reason we've got people that sit in pews that never amount to anything, that never rise up and be what God's called them to be, is because they don't have the maturity to look at certain things in their life and say, no, that's an enemy of God. That's got to go. I can't let that stay in I'm going to preach to you a little bit tonight, so you might as well. This may be different than you've ever heard Doug White preach before, but I promise you, I've heard from God, and I need somebody to listen to me today. Sometimes those enemies are so close to you, you don't even recognize him. Sometimes the enemy that's stopping you from being more in God is a family member. It's a boyfriend. It's a girlfriend. It's a co-worker. It's a close friend. Hey, brother stripling. Hey, sister stripling, if the spiritual potential in you is ever going to be revealed, it's going to be because you got enough maturity about you to say, that's an enemy of God. I can't leave that in my world. You have to isolate. You have to identify the enemy. And then you've got to isolate their influence. Let me preach straight to you today. Sometimes you don't see the enemy. You don't recognize him because it looks like humanity. And we have a tendency to think, if it looks like us, it can't be the enemy of God. But David understood that sometimes our carnal flesh is the greatest enemy of God that there is. You've got to recognize those enemies. And somebody was listening to me preach right now. If your hobby is your hindrance, get rid of it. If your boyfriend is your battleground, get rid of him. If your temper is your trap, get over it. If your lust is the leash he's got you tied to, you better take a cold shower and stay close to God. You got to make sure you identify your enemies. I can't even begin to tell you the massive number of people that I've watched through 40 years of full-time ministry who sit in obscure pews, Brother Carroll, powerless and pathetic, until they suddenly realized, I could get rid of this enemy of God and be something if I'd just be willing to take care of this enemy of God. And when they did, they were revealed as the powerhouse God intended them to be. I want you to listen to me right now. Love me or hate me, I've come to preach tonight. Sin is an enemy of God. Temptation is an enemy of God. Carnality is an enemy of God. Worldliness is an enemy of God. Compromise is an enemy of God. Better understand me well. If you're a stripling hidden from the world that you should be doing exploits in, you need to know that you'll never be revealed until you reach the place that you start recognizing the enemies of God and isolating their influence in your world. I don't care if it's your best friend. I don't care if it's that backslider you keep trying to maintain contact with. I don't care if it's that one that has an issue with your man of God. You better understand that's a slew-foot enemy of the master, and you better get away from them. Hey, I wish somebody would help me preach right now. You've got to learn to identify